Weird science
is the revolution.
Luke Cage, Gang War #2. This shocked me that this came out. It feels really quick.
It is. 2 weeks.
It's very odd. But it's written by Rodney Barnes, art by Ramon F. Box, colors by Andrew Dahlhaus, and letters by DC's Travis Lanham. And in that first issue, you had pretty much Luke, tangling a bit with Alistair Smythe, the Spider Slayer, and these robot army he had. And the big play is, oh my, I'm the mayor, but the Fisk's law doesn't allow me to be, my real bulletproof Luke Cage deal. So I'm going to get a suit that looks like Shaquille O'Neal's Steel outfit from the movie. Exactly, and I'm going to go undercover to fight. And even at that point, before we even get into this, just the idea that he thinks that nobody is going to recognize that it's him going around in that stupid suit is beyond me. It gets worse in this one. It's actually hilarious when it happens. And again, though, before we go, I like Rodney Barnes. And this issue is going to be pretty much like we said about the whole Daredevil one this week, is the idea that it's okay. It does its own thing. You have them. I don't know that I actually need to have, a Spider Slayer versus Luke Cage deal. To me, that really points out, I've said it before, I said it to you even when we were off the mic, the idea where it shows you there's not a ton to do with the whole gang war. Like, it's not like Luke Cage is going after any of the big gang people because they're going to go against each other. We're going to keep that there. So you need to figure out something. That's why a lot of these end up feeling unnecessary. They could still be some fun. And you get Danny here, and Danny is hanging out. And I mentioned this because it'll come up a little later. Danny, they're having a mayoral meeting about the city on fire and looting and vandalism. Nobody says, who's this dude standing with you?
Yeah, the main lieutenant guy is there. Everybody's there.
Danny is just there.
His trusted advisors.
It's like, oh, that's my buddy. Well, this isn't the time or place.
He's wearing a leather jacket.
With his hands in his pockets. Just like,
and jeans.
When you look at him, he does look like he's got a goofy, I don't know what they're talking about look, but at one point I need somebody, especially this lieutenant, to say, who's he and why is he here? He shouldn't be here right now. This is, mayor business here, but he's there. I'll mention it again in a little bit. Because while that's going on, you do have Luke, he's talking to Spider-Man. They're trying to figure things out. And the whole play of this lieutenant, who's like a linchpin later, the idea that he's like, I don't know, we're losing control of the city. We got to do this. I don't know what's going on. Maybe you should call in the National Guard. The Fisk law's in. You're dealing with these masks, whatever. This guy seems like a law and order type guy. Seems okay. But then you have the key phrase that'll come up a bunch of times here where Luke Cage says, we'll keep fighting the good fight, Captain. And then at one point, they're like, yeah, go fight the good fight, Captain. Go fight this. Go fight. And then you even have him say, yeah, hey, if you need me, I'll be on the street. Fighting the good fight with the air quote.
I thought he was kind of mocking Luke Cage when he said that. Like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
I think that he's mad because he thinks again that Luke should be calling in some extra help. That Luke is not calling in the National Guard. He should do that. I agree. Crap's gotten bad. Maybe
the city's on fire.
City's on fire. Maybe less Shaquille O'Neal and more actual mayor and call in, but that wouldn't make a good comic, though.
Didn't Shaquille O'Neal, though, you could correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he try to become a sheriff at one point?
Oh, yeah.
So this is basically Shaquille O'Neal walking around.
If we can go with it, you just up my score. Luke Cage is Shaquille O'Neal here as mayor, and I love it. But, so they all go out. Advisors, police, and Danny's still there. Hey, what do you want to do? He's like, Luke says, I got a team. I got together. Do you want to be part of it? Of course he does. And then it was kind of crazy, too, because then we go off and we'll end up having a couple characters throughout this night, too, mentioned or in, because Jessica, I didn't think you were going to get her involved. I thought maybe she'd be babysitting Danny or watching Danny. I guess it's not babysitting.
Yeah, because she never does anything but detective work and watch her kid.
At this moment, she's also teamed up with Misty Knight trying to figure out who Sentry is. She's doing a lot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
And at that point, Danny was being watched by Luke, or as we like to call him, Shaquille O'Neal. But you end up where I think Danny's just walking around random. We'll just have a random scene where Danny's just walking through an alleyway. I love Danny, by the way. But there is Jessica. She starts kicking butt and then realizes that these things that now she's fighting as well are these robots from Alistair Smythe when Luke shows up in his costume. And here's the thing. I know that she is married to Luke. Kind of knows him, right?
Yeah.
But she should say, because she's not fooled, because nobody would be. Here's this humongous, bulletproof black man who just is Luke Cage, now knocking heads, but he's got a steel outfit on, and nobody seems to know it's him. But she's like, hey, where'd you get the outfit? I'm supposed to pick out your outfits, which you had a problem with.
I got a major problem with it. She's the worst dressed person in the Marvel Universe. I mean, she's horrible.
Is it one of those, like, the people who, okay, I have 2 suits, and you open up their closet and they have, 50 of each suit because it's easier
like
that way.
Marge Simpson wearing the same dress. Steve Jobs just always had a black turtleneck and jeans. That was it.
It's easy for her. She grabs there. She's like, what am I going to wear today? I'm going to get that leather jacket, the white tee.
And her T-shirt's even ripped. I don't know what she's doing.
At one point, I like the art in this.
Yeah.
At one point when she says, love what it does for the torso, suddenly she looks like a 13-year-old.
Oh, yeah. The art changes in a disturbing way there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very odd. Now, all of a sudden, if anybody's watching, Luke is legitimately getting shot by lasers and bullets, and nothing's happening because he is Luke. Again, all this is, they wanted to have some new costume. I think it was a misplay. They could have done better. But when you're running around and you keep having like everything exposed, and you really look like kind of going with the whole Power Man deal, but in steel, but not, it's just wacky. But he ends up destroying these things and explains to Jessica, hey, it doesn't matter, they're robots. And then says, I'm getting a team together. You want to get on the team? And she says right away, Danny's on the team, right? And he's like, no. Well, yes. And she's like, yep, because he's your other lover. They have that play throughout this, but she's on the team, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he explains to her and everybody else at one point that the Fisk's Law, that's why he wears a mask. Why I have a new outfit is because I can't be seen. I can't have anybody figure me out. I already said that it's kind of ridiculous because you can tell that there's not many people built like Luke Cage and look like Luke Cage. You just put a little domino mask, whether it's made of steel or you end up where you're going to be able to tell it's him. But when you then team up with your best friend who was there in the mayor's office with you and your wife, neither are wearing any sort of costume or any sort of mask. I mean, Jessica, she only has one costume, leather jacket, white shirt, pants. That's what she's at. If you haven't figured out at that point, I'm telling people around in the city, if you haven't figured out that this guy running around you're going to figure out because he's there with his wife and best friend.
His entire entourage.
It's just ridiculous that he thinks that he needs to wear that when they're running around like that. But they're going to go and they're going to take out Smythe, and they go, and that's the focus of this book, and it seems like it'll continue to be, and it's okay. It just shows you that there's not really enough going around to have really stories that really tie in to the gang war, but they're doing their own thing as the city burns, and Luke's mayor, so it works out. But you have Smythe, who he's there, and he's got a robot army. At this point, it just looks like regular robots, but later they become huge mechas. But yeah. They're going to go, and you have Rikers Island that's being attacked. And that's where we get the captain from earlier, the police chief, all these guys, they're there. And you have Luke and his crew show up. Like, they're just running in. Again, Jessica, no mask or outfit. Danny's there. He was just in the office with this captain. And you also have Cloak and Dagger, who, I didn't mention it last time, but they are right now Orcus hounds. So that makes a little bit of a weird play, but you have to kind of fudge things and things definitely. Like this. But it's okay. Through all this, you end up where Jessica starts ripping things apart. Luke, he's getting shot. They're going to help these police. And then they say, hey, police officers, we're going to go in and take care of them. We're going to take care of what's going on. And this captain, who was kind of very familiar with Luke, obviously doesn't recognize his voice, but he says, you're under arrest. I have to arrest you. Luke turns and says, no. You keep doing what you're doing. We're going to go in here. And by the way, we're going to keep fighting the good fight. And there is the look of, oh, my God, it's Luke.
He just cracked the code.
This is why there's bad crime in New York City. He didn't know that this was Luke. There's Luke's wife. The guy who was hanging with Luke in the office 2 minutes ago. They're all there. And he's like, oh my God, I think that might be the mayor. I needed that other guy to go, come on now. We all know it's Shaquille O'Neal. So ridiculous. So ridiculous. They run into Rikers and Danny just says, hey, I'm going to go off this way. You fight these robot soldiers. Danny goes off on a stairway that ends up with the tech that you would have guarding some huge diamond. He's jumping around. It's Mission Impossible times 20.
Would those lasers kill him, or are they just triggering an alarm?
I think they would.
Yeah.
But he gets away, and he runs and kicks in the door.
Then immediately gets shot. Good reflexes, buddy.
He kicks in the door. Oh, my God, that's Alistair Smythe. He's like, I'm going to take you down now. And all of a sudden, you have a bunch of these robot soldiers come. Oh, right, this will be fun. Kicks the head off of one. And then just gets shot. That wasn't a very good fight. Why did you have that happen? It was very odd.
Mm-hmm.
You also have Cloak. He gets some of these bad guys and, obviously gets them in the Cloak. Yeah. Last issue, there was a little bit of a problem with that.
There was, because he thought they were going to have souls. Yeah. Now he just kills them.
Yeah, now he just destroys them in there. So you end up where it's like, okay, everything's done. And then, boom, you're in at the HQ of Alistair with Danny on the ground. They're looking at him. And then all that happens here to finish this issue is that Alistair says, all right, I'm going to press this button.
Self-destruct or something.
And self-destruct all of this. They don't grab him. He's there. Luke could probably just knock him out right there, right? But instead, they're like, oh, crap. And they start running full speed. And Jessica's the one who's carrying.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
He looks like a little kid.
Oh, he's there. She's like got him there, and Luke's just running behind. Everybody's going, and you end up where they jump through the door. Everything blows up. It's all on fire. They look back, and I'm like, well, what happened to Alistair? Because he was just there with them. I'd laugh if he was running right behind them, and then he just sneaks away. I don't know. He ends up getting out because then we end some really quick cuts at the end, right? The idea they're in
abrupt ending.
Yeah, they're in that control room. You end up where they get Danny, and then you end up, hey, I'm going to press this. Blow up, boom, and then the next panel, you have what looks like Sentinels. Most people see them and think they're Sentinels, but they are those robots from before. They have the same look, but these are huge, and they're standing outside. Yeah, and they're standing outside, City Hall, and you end up where this Alistair says, I'm going to mess up your workplace, and then you have classic Luke Cage yell, "Sweet Christmas!" And then we'll see what happens. But I don't know. That ending made me giggle. It's like so over the top that it's kind of funny. None of these people are being given a lot to work with in these tie-ins in my mind. So they're just like, hey, let's have some fun. I had some fun. I laughed that Luke Cage really thinks he's fooling. And I need it at the end where he thinks that he has fooled everybody and nobody was fooled. The only person who was fooled was that captain. He was the only one that didn't realize that was Luke Cage. But
there might be something to that. They might play that out.
Alistair did. He knew it. Like everybody knew. Everybody knew except the captain.
Speaking of Alistair, what do you think about his look?
I never liked him. I never liked him. He loved the look of the Iron Spider suit and then tried to morph into it, but didn't quite get there.
And he never wears a shirt. It's like, dude, I don't know what's going on here.
I think the problem is he can't find a shirt with holes in the shoulders.
He's got those bike shorts on. But he's ripped up, he's muscular, he's got abs and stuff. But would you bother with that if you had those things growing off your back? Would you even bother?
No. Like, well, what is somebody going to look? It's like, oh my God, look at that guy. He's got a six-pack. I don't see those tentacles coming out his back. Seriously, I don't think anybody's going to want to be in the room with him.
He's got the long flowing hair. He gets it styled.
Yeah, I'm not going to say the guy's handsome or anything, but he looks like he could be the guitarist for Cinderella or something. Got bike pants on and no shirt. The guy has no shame. But what would you give this?
I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Yeah, I'm a 7.5 too. Hey, all you weirdos, if you like comic book shows, podcasts, videos, please check the description of this video, where you can see links to all of our podcast shows, websites, all of that. And if you want to help us out for everything that we do, you can click on that Patreon link in the upper left-hand corner and check out our Patreon, where you can go right now and get a 7-day free trial to see all the stuff that we do, shows that are Marvel, DC, indie, manga, and even more. So check all that out, and I'll talk to you all later.
Weird science
is the revolution.